Imagine this. You put a plate down in front of your child. There are vegetables on it. Not weird vegetables, not experimental food, just vegetables. And instantly the tension starts. They stare at the plate. They wrinkle their nose. They push it away. I don't like that. That's gross. I'm not eating it. And you feel it in your chest. That familiar mix of frustration, worry, and exhaustion. Because this isn't the first time, and it won't be the last. If meals turn into veggie wars in your house, you're not alone. Parents all over the world deal with this every single day, and most of us assume it's about stubbornness, or bad habits, or picky personalities, that our child is just being difficult. But what's actually happening has very little to do with manners or gratitude. It's a nervous system issue. When a child looks at a food they're unsure about, their brain doesn't think, this is healthy. It thinks, is this safe? Children are biologically wired to be cautious with unfamiliar foods. It's called food neophobia, and it's not a flaw. It's survival wiring. In early human history, eating the wrong thing could kill you. So the brain evolved to be suspicious of new textures, new colors, new smells. Your child isn't rejecting vegetables because they want to control you. They're reacting to uncertainty, and then we accidentally make it worse. Because when we see our child refuse food, our nervous system gets activated too. We worry they won't get enough nutrients. We worry they'll be hungry later. We worry we're failing somehow. So we start doing things that feel loving in the moment. We pressure. Just take one bite. We bargain. If you eat your broccoli, you can have dessert. We lecture. You need vegetables to grow, or we give up and make something else. And here's the hard truth. Every one of those responses teaches the nervous system that vegetables are a threat. Pressure tells the body, danger. Bargaining tells the brain, this food must be bad if there's a reward for surviving it. Backup meals teach, if I refuse long enough, this goes away. So the pattern strengthens, not because your child is manipulative, but because their nervous system is learning. And over time, the veggie wars get worse, not better. The key shift is this. Your job at meals is not to make your child eat vegetables. Your job is to create the conditions where eating vegetables becomes possible. That's a very different goal. Because eating happens when a child feels safe, calm, and appropriately hungry. And most veggie wars fall apart because one of those pieces is missing. Let's start with hunger. A lot of children are never truly hungry at meals. Not starving, not deprived, just never hungry enough. Because they've been grazing all afternoon. A handful of crackers in the car, a granola bar at 5, a juice box while playing. These seem harmless, but they blunt appetite. And without appetite, there is no biological motivation to try a food that feels uncertain. Hunger is not the enemy, it's the engine. In cultures where picky eating is rare, children arrive at meals hungry. Not desperate, not shaky, just ready. So the first rule is structure between meals. Meals and snacks happen at predictable times. In between, there's water. That's it. This isn't punishment, it's rhythm. And rhythm tells the nervous system, food is coming. You don't need to panic. Now let's talk about control. At most dinner tables, control is blurry. Parents try to control what the child eats. Children try to control whether they eat at all. And the battle lives right there. So we separate roles. The parent decides what food is served. The child decides whether to eat and how much. This is not permissive. This is respectful structure. You're not asking them to eat. You're not forcing them to finish. You're simply saying, this is what we're having. That clarity alone lowers tension. Because children don't have to defend themselves against pressure. Now comes the piece that changes everything. Tasting. In many families, tasting is optional, or it's a fight. But in homes where veggie wars soften, tasting is expected and calm. One taste, not one bite to swallow. One taste. It can be a lick, a nibble, a smell, a touch to the lips. And here's the language that matters. You don't have to like it. You do have to taste it so your tongue can learn. That sentence does something powerful. It removes the performance pressure, and it reframes tasting as learning, not obedience. Now here's the most important part. You don't hover, you don't watch their mouth, you don't comment on their face. You stay neutral, and after they taste, you move on. Thank you for tasting. What else would you like from the table? That's it. If they eat more vegetables, fine. If they don't, fine. The win is the taste. Because research shows children need many exposures to a food before accepting it. Sometimes 10, sometimes 15. Most parents give up after 3. So the goal isn't today's plate, it's the pattern over time. Now let's put this into a real moment. It's dinner. You've served chicken, rice, and green beans. There is at least one safe food on the table, something you know they'll eat. Your child looks at the green beans and says, "I don't like those." You don't argue. You don't convince. You say calmly, "You don't have to like them. You do have to taste them so your tongue can learn." Then you wait. They hesitate. They stall. You stay calm. Eventually, they touch the bean to their lips and make a face. You don't react. You lean in with curiosity. "What did you notice? Was it crunchy or soft?" They think. "Soft." You reflect. "Soft." And then you move on. "Thanks for tasting. What else would you like?" They eat the chicken and rice. They don't touch the green beans again. That is a win, because next time, those beans are slightly less unfamiliar, and the time after that, less again. This is how the nervous system learns, not through force, through repetition without pressure. Now let's talk about what not to do. Don't praise eating vegetables. "Good job eating your broccoli" turns food into a performance. Don't comment on quantity. Just one more bite brings pressure back. Don't show disappointment. Kids feel it instantly. Neutral is powerful. Your calm presence tells their nervous system, this is not a threat. Now, what about when they refuse to taste? You hold the boundary gently. In our family, we taste everything once. You don't argue. You don't remove the plate. You continue eating your own meal. Often hunger does the work for you, and if they truly refuse, you stay calm. You clear the plate when the meal ends. No snacks until the next scheduled eating time. Not as punishment, as structure. A healthy child will not starve from missing one meal, but they will learn from the pattern. Now let's talk about time. This doesn't work overnight. The first few days may feel harder. Your child might test harder, refuse more, push longer. That's normal. They're checking whether the old system is still in place. You stay steady. Same language, same expectations, same calm. After a week or two, something shifts. They start tasting faster. They complain less. Meals feel shorter. After a few weeks, many families notice something surprising. Vegetables stop being the center of the meal. They're just there. And that's the goal. Not excitement, not enthusiasm, normalcy. Now, a few common questions. What if my child eats nothing? If there is a safe food on the table and your child arrived hungry, they will eat something. They might not eat what you hoped, but they will eat. Hungry children eat. What if my child has extreme picky eating? If there's a diagnosed feeding disorder or medical concern, you need specialized support. This approach is for typical picky eating, which is far more common than most parents realize. And finally, what if my child gags? Gagging can be a fear response, not a sign of danger. Stay calm. Don't rush in. Don't shame. Fear decreases with exposure done safely. Veggie wars are not a sign you're doing something wrong. They're a sign your child's nervous system needs structure, safety, and time. You're not trying to win dinner. You're teaching a life skill. That food is predictable. That hunger is manageable. That new things become familiar. And when you stop fighting the plate, something beautiful happens. Mealtimes get quieter. Your body relaxes. Your child relaxes. And vegetables slowly lose their power, not because you force them, but because you remove the pressure.